We're still a couple away from quorum.
We're at quorum.
Okay, thanks. Let's get started. So welcome everybody to the October full board meeting of Community Board 8. As the board members know, we lost one of our own, our fellow board member, Barbara Chalky. And so we're going to start with a moment of silence to just honor Barbara and remember her. And then we'll resume the meeting. Okay, so I just want to remind everybody that if you're a member of the public and you would like to speak in the public session, you have to sign up online through our registration system on our website, and you still can do that. You have until 6:45 p.m. to sign up on the website if you still want to speak in the public session and haven't signed up yet. So with that, we will get the public session underway. So let me call on Sandra Coleman will be first, but I'll just have Will run through the Zoom rules as usual.
Well, welcome everyone. If this is your first time joining us for one of our virtual full board meetings, you'll notice that everyone is muted and you'll all stay muted throughout the entirety of the meeting, except for our chair, Russell Squire, and any time our board will be giving presentations during the committee reports. So if you are called on by Russell during the public session, we ask that you just use the raise hand feature so that we can find you quickly. And you can find that by going to the bottom of your screen and looking for the reactions button. Press that button and you should find a raise hand button under there. It's not the thumbs up or the wave. Those will disappear and we won't actually be able to see you. If you're calling in from the phone, it's *9 to raise your hand. And then after Russell has called you during the public session, you'll need to confirm unmuting. So look out for a prompt on your device for that. And if you're calling in from the phone, it's *6 to unmute. And finally, if you're having any problems finding the raise hand button, you may need to go to the participants section if it could be under there. Or you can always just chat me if you're still having problems finding the raise hand button. And I think Russell said it, but you'll have 2 minutes for the public session.
All right, go ahead. Let's start with Sandra.
Okay, Sandra. And then I'm going to put up a clock on the screen.
Okay. Greetings all. Yes, my name is Sandra I. Coleman, and my condolences to us all for our board member Barbara that has passed on, transitioned on. Yes, I'm Sandra I. Coleman. I am one of the organizers as well as the longest organizer at individual at Schultz Park. I would like to bring to attention to my fellow community board members and attendees that we have a member of our community that has been smearing feces on the signs at least twice a week at the Vigil Memorial site. It is a Caucasian male individual. He has been observing by when the posters were untampered with, and once they have left with their dogs, what was visible is feces covered over pictures of Black victims' faces, and or their printed names that have been dyed due to police violence. What I would say is, if anyone would like to assist current organizers and myself to stop this nasty hatred, please connect with me. Lastly, kids, toddlers, families, grade school classes, visit the site, touch the posters, reflect, and even learn there. It is disrespectful, a health hazard as well. As hate is taking place on the Upper East Side several times a week, I am thankful that a few current organizers that live close by takes time to clean these off the posters and even replace them. We also have colorful chalk that we keep in a container for all to use. Lastly, we have been assembled there since June 2nd of 2020. And as of this Friday, it is day number 449. We have transitioned a few months ago to Friday through Sundays. We check on and maintain the site several times daily. Thank you for this time and for me to raise this awareness and attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, let's go to Valerie Mason.
Thanks so much, Russell. I just want to say, just thrilled to be a part of this community. Today, we have a lot of stalwarts here tonight who've been on a public hearing for most of the day in respect to the Blood Center's ULURP application. I just want to say thank you so much for coming out today and participating in the hearing. We had over 250 people live streaming the hearing, and at times over 100 people signed up to speak. It really went from like 10:30 and ended at 5 o'clock, and probably could have gone on longer. And some of the speakers just said, you know, my point has already been made. So I want to just, on behalf of the Coalition to Stop the Tower and everybody else, just say how excited and thrilled we were that we got such a huge turnout of this community to testify. And I just want to give a shout out to Barbara Chotke, because I think she would have been so proud of what we did today. I know if she was here, she would have been with us. I did feel her spirit when we were out there today. And so again, thank you very much to our electeds, especially our council people who represented us very well today in the hearing, Ben Kalos and Keith Powers, and to all the council people who I think were actually listening to us. Don't forget, you have 72 hours from today to submit your written testimony, and I hope everyone will do that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, let's go to Laura Morgan, and I will just let you know, each person has 2 minutes total. So I think, Laura, you may have signed up for 2 items, but you've got 2 minutes to
Laura, if you're here, please use the raise hand button so we can see you, because I do not find your name in the participants list.
Okay, and if Laura is not here, then let's go to, I think I saw Matt Bowers here from the Madison Avenue bid.
Hi, good evening. I just also want to extend my condolences, our organization's condolences on the loss of Barbara Chotke. Do want to mention that that we actually do have a very significant event this weekend, the Madison Avenue Fall Gallery Walk, which is going to be taking place from 11 to 6. We have 44 art galleries that are participating in the event. It's free and open to the public. You can experience the art of each of these galleries, many of which are doing special talks by the curators or artists. So it's a great experience to visit all the galleries and to meet the folks that are there. It's also fun to go into a lot of the buildings because a lot of the galleries are on the upper floors of buildings. So you may not normally see them if you're just walking up and down the avenue. They're on the side streets, they're upstairs. So it's really a lot of fun. And like I said, 44 galleries are taking part. We're going to have, we do ask that you register in advance for the event. It is free, but it just helps with, with capacity issues in each of the galleries. You can register at our website, which is madisonbid.org, and then /fall gallery walk. We have an information tent that day as well in front of the Frick Madison. And I see Liz Daly is here from the Frick Madison, and she'll be speaking about some of the special programming taking place there that day. And I just want to finish by mentioning, as I always try to do, some of the new businesses that have opened. We actually have 2 that have opened up inside the Carlisle. Dowling's at the Carlisle, their restaurant has reopened, and Sleepy Jones, a sleepwear store, has opened up in the Carlisle on the ground floor. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right, next, let's go to Liz Daly.
Thank you. And I would also like to extend my condolences on the passing of Barbara Chucky. I'm Liz Daly. I'm the Community Relations Manager of the Frick. And I think, as everybody knows, we're now at 945 Madison Avenue, the former Met Breuer. And being in that setting has really given us an opportunity to, I would say, afford to see many of our, paintings and sculptures and decorative arts in a new way. And as part of offering this new perspective on our collection, I want to let you know that we have just opened an exciting new year-long project, which is called Living Histories, Queer Views and Old Masters. And it presents contemporary paintings by New York-based artists in conversation with works at Frick Madison, with a particular emphasis on issues of gender and queer identity that are typically excluded from narratives of European art. And the first 2 installations feature works by Salman Tour and Duran Langberg. They're on view on the 2nd floor through January 2022. And if you want more information, our website is www.frick.org. And thank you, Matt, for giving us a little trailer. But this Saturday, as part of the gallery walk in front of Frick Madison, we will be having sketching from 3 to 5. It will be a free sketching session. You need no experience whatsoever. We will supply all the materials that are needed. And you can reserve an easel on a first come, first served basis. So I hope that you will stop by this Saturday, either to sketch with us or to enjoy Frick Madison. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next, let's go to Andrew Radisher.
I did actually see Councilmember Kalos has joined us.
Oh, he's here. Yeah, yes, let's go to Councilmember Kalos.
Councilmember Ben Superdad Kalos. You can unmute.
Hello, I'm reporting live tonight from Rupert Park, where we're doing pumpkin carving with a bunch of families. I want to thank Community Board 8 Chair Russell Squire, and I think we had perfect attendance of Community Board 8 members today at our 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. hearing on the Blood Center project. I can't believe that we had to spend 7 hours trying to explain why we shouldn't build 500-foot tall towers across the street from the only playground in the neighborhood. A lot of folks made some very strong arguments. I just want to thank everybody. Ultimately, at this point, it's about whether the council will follow member deference and support the fact that the Blood Center hasn't negotiated with Community Board 8, Gail Brewer, Liz Kruger, Congressmember Maloney, myself, or Keith Powers, and they're just trying to ram this project through. As you may have heard, they came back with the same floor area. They're not getting rid of any FAR, and they just changed the heights of mechanicals so that they could still block the light in St. Catharines. Then the notion that somehow we don't need light in a park after 3 o'clock is just, it makes me sad. It makes me angry, and I just wish they would hear us. In other news, you may have seen that we're talking about legislation to allow everyone to get internet as part of their housing, so that we can end the digital divide. I also represent East Harlem, which a quarter of the households don't have internet. And that's also where a lot of people still don't have vaccines despite high vaccine rates here. We have one last family day at Samuel Seabury 96 in Lexington this coming Saturday. And everything else is kind of in our newsletter. I know that we have Wilfredo from my team. Some of you know Tirso on our team. He'll be leaving our office. We wish him well. And we'll be losing lots of team members between now and December. Key thing to remember is early voting is starting. Absentee ballots were needed to be due earlier this week. And please remember to vote. There's an election for the city council seat for the mayor, and there's 5 questions on the Constitution. And you can learn more in this Campaign Finance Board voter guide, but every single one of the people on this community board is a rock star. I know that some of you are getting attacked personally on Twitter, and I'm sorry. It's wrong, and just keep fighting. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for all your hard work today during that hearing, because I know it's long and grueling. So we really do appreciate it. All right, let us continue with the public session. So we will go next to Andrew Radishier.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. And relating to today's 7-hour Longfellow expansion discussion, I am here to reiterate the need for a 210-foot height cap on all new developments immediately. And I'm focusing my brief talk from the perspective as a published cellular researcher and on environmental grounds. Several studies around the world, but particularly in China and London, who are ahead of us on the overdevelopment curve, have demonstrated that buildings emit an exponentially greater amount of greenhouse gas emissions and use an exponentially greater amount of energy after 100 feet of height, around 10 stories, and around 210 feet of height, which is around 21. This increase in turn warms our city by trapping energy in the atmosphere, trapping particulate matter, worsening our air quality, and exacerbating the urban heat island effect. The urban heat island effect can be defined as the propensity of cities to trap heat and grow considerably warmer than the surrounding natural environment. According to the EPA, locales within urban heat islands can be up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than surrounding areas. While it may just sound like an inconvenience to be warmer, this temperature change has a massive impact in rising asthma, cardiovascular, and infectious disease rates. In addition, the urban heat island begins a problematic, never-ending positive feedback loop in which people use their air conditioners due to increased heat, which increases the amount of energy use and greenhouse gases in the air, which of course makes the environment even warmer. Because of Senator Manchin, meaningful climate change legislation is likely not to occur at the federal level for a while. As a result, states and cities must lead the way. I'm encouraging CB8 to reach out to other community boards, climate change organizations, affordable housing organizations, and aspiring local politicians who have elections soon to demand change from our new elected officials. I'm looking forward to helping with these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Lo Vandervalk.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
My name is Lo Vandervalk. I'm representing Carnegie Hill Neighbors. I just wanted to put in a word of commendation for one of the landmarks applications that will come before your vote today, this evening. It concerns 1133 Fifth Avenue The architect and his team did a fine job of presenting the material and did a fine job of the design to eliminate an ugly combination of houses on the penthouse roof, and has conformed in a wonderfully symmetric way the rooftop, which is the top 3 floors of that penthouse, which includes the water tower to some degree. It's a wonderful example of a great improvement, and one which we hope to see more of. There have been other applications in the last 2 years of Fifth Avenue water towers that we objected to, and thankfully they have not occurred. The one in particular, I don't want to single any one building out negatively, but this is a wonderful example of what can be done, and I recommend that the individual members of the board look at that application, because it's really a wonderful example of good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, next, let's go to Timothy Harrell.
Timothy, if you're here, just use the raise hand button so we can find you.
Mhm.
And after Timothy, or if Timothy's not here, we'll go to John McClement.
John, same thing. Please raise your hand if you are here. But we do actually have our Assemblywoman, Rebecca Seawright, here if you would like, while we wait for them.
Yes, please. Yeah, let's turn it over to Assemblymember Seawright. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Community Board 8, and thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. What a long hearing this afternoon. I want to thank Councilmember Kalos and Powers and all of you that participated in testifying today at this hearing. Last night, I was able to participate in your Women and Families Committee, Community Board 8, on the topic of reproduction, abortion, and choice in New York State and nationally, what's going on in Texas and around the globe. And want to again thank your co-chairs, Gail and Peggy, for choosing that topic. This week I presented Michael Adams, the CEO of SAGE, an assembly citation on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the SAGE Gala and his 60th birthday. He has just opened a new center in Brooklyn for LGBT seniors, and we're hoping to get something like that replicated on the Upper East Side. My office has held 3 successful and fully booked out booster clinics. Some of you took advantage of it. Today, we were walking the line at the MTA bus in front of the office, signing up people. We'll be offering on November 5th and again on Friday, November 12th, the Pfizer booster shot as well as a 3rd dose of Moderna. And please call the office 212-288-4607 to sign up. It does book out. I started a new Manhattan Neighborhood Network TV show airing last Thursday at 8 p.m. This month's episode will be discussing the ballot proposals that we'll be voting on in just a few days. We had as our guest the Director of Common Cause. And if you have ideas for show topics or you'd like to be a speaker on it, please let us know. We continue to co-host our no-cost housing legal clinic every other Tuesday in the community office. The next one will be Tuesday, October 26th at 4 p.m. So if you or a neighbor or friend knows someone that needs free housing legal advice, please ask them to sign up. Again, it does book out at the office. Every Thursday, we'll be doing it tomorrow between 12 and 2. We hand out free face masks at the district office on York Avenue between 78th and 79th, free hand sanitizer. We're continuing to distribute PPE in light of the new Chinese variant that there was a report that just came out. So we're preparing for that. Please feel free to reach out to our office. On October 25th, if you'd like. We're going to be taking a walking tour with other electeds. Our office has arranged, Roosevelt Island has been, as many of you know, without a bank. And so we've invited institutions, financial institutions, to come in and tour the island along with us in REOC. We'll be meeting at 250 Main Street on October 25th at 11 o'clock to try to encourage these institutions to open a location on the island. If you have ideas for state legislation that you'd like to see, please email us. We're starting to put together our legislative agenda for this session, which will start in January. It's great to see everyone, and thanks again for all who participated in today's City Council hearing.
Thank you very much, and thank you for participating in the hearing today. So, see, Rita Popper, you have your hand up. Is this to speak in the public session?
I just had a question. What streets on Madison Avenue from where to where is that Sunday?
That's, I think, a question for Matt. Is Matt Bauer still on?
Let me see. And also Liz is on, so maybe she knows. But Matt Bauer, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, yes, thanks for asking. Yeah, the gallery walk has, there's a number of galleries in the Fuller Building on 57th Street, and then it goes all the way up to 83rd Street is the northernmost. So 44 in that area. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And the map is on our website.
Excellent.
Matt, if you want to chat me the link to your website page where that is, and I'll put it into the chat for everybody here.
Cool, thank you so much.
Okay, so last call for the folks that we have called on who don't appear to be on: Laura Morgan, Timothy Harrell, or John McClement.
If you're on, please use the raise hand button or chat us so we can unmute you.
Okay, so with that, let's move to the next item, which is adoption of the agenda. So can we get motion to do that? Which you can do with a thumbs up. It's sufficient. Rebecca moves. Is there a second? I see Barry seconds. Anyone opposed to that? No? Very good. Okay, next, adoption of the minutes. Same deal. Yep, Alita moves to adopt the minutes. Let's get a second.
Michelle, seconds.
Excellent. All right. So with that, we will move to the Borough President's report, unless she is planning to join us later.
Isabel, will you just tell us if Gail's planning to join later?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, the board president is planning to join us in a few minutes.
Okay, excellent. All right, in the meantime, let's start the elected official reports. So if the representatives can please raise your hands. All right, we will start with Terrell Brock.
Go ahead and unmute Terrell.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Terrell Brock, and I'm a community liaison from Senator Jose Serrano's office. Senator Serrano joined Senator Biaggi, Assemblymember Yuli New, and his colleagues in the legislature in a letter to Senator Schumer and the New York congressional delegation requesting an extension to all federal unemployment insurance. We're still encouraging tenants to apply to New York State's COVID rental assistance program. You can apply through the link in our website, and feel free to reach out to our office for help with your application. On September 21st, Senator Serrano received a perfect score on the New York League of Conservation Voters 2021 State Legislative Scorecard for his voting record on environmental issues. During the last legislative session, the New York Senate passed a number of environmental justice bills, including one to create an environmental bill of rights to protect communities that have been overburdened by pollution. The proposed amendment to Article 1 of the New York Constitution would establish the right of each person to clean air and water and healthful environment, and it will be on your ballots in November. This year's 29th district woman of distinction is Wendy Hirsch, president of the Roosevelt Island Disabled Association and CB8. During the pandemic, she oversaw the only food pantry on the island, helping to combat food insecurity in her community. And if anyone would like to reach out to our office, please contact us at 212-828-5829. And you can also email me directly at tbrock@nysenate.gov.
Thank you. Okay, so before proceeding with the rest of the elected official reports, so as I mentioned, Community Board 8 very sadly lost Barbara Chonky, she was our longest tenured member, and I think the longest tenured member of CB8 in CB8 history. And this past Sunday, there was a memorial for Barbara, which was very moving, and there were some CB8 members who spoke there. And for us on the board, on November 10th, as board members know, there's going to be a special meeting of the board where CB8 members will have a chance to share memories of Barbara and reminiscences and talk about what she meant to us as fellow board members. But I did want, since this is the first full board member since Barbara's passing, I also wanted us to do a little bit to remember her here. And so we're very fortunate to be joined by Amy Baxter, who was a dear friend of Barbara's and helped organize the memorial this past Sunday. And so I'm just going to turn it over to Amy so she can talk a little bit about Barbara. And thank you very much,
Russell. Yeah, thank you, Russell. Thank you for inviting me. I see some familiar faces and lots of new ones. I was liaison to this board for about 10 years in the late 90s and early 2000s. So like I said, nice to see some familiar faces, and it was good to see some people Sunday at the memorial. I actually met Barbara at a community board meeting in 1998, I think it was. And I told the story Sunday, but it was, unbeknownst to me that I had just started working for Assemblymember Granis, and his opponent was either on the board or speaking in the public session, his opponent in the previous election cycle. So I got up to give my first report, very earnest and excited. And, this guy starts hassling me a little bit about some legislative issue. And Barbara and Carolyn Greenberg, some of you will remember Carolyn, who passed away in 2004. They got up from their seats in the front row where they were always sitting and just burned over to this guy and said, how dare you, knock it off, this kind of thing. And I thought, wow, these are like some, small but mighty ladies here. And I went up to thank Barbara after the meeting, and she said, you work for Pete, so you're family now. And that is how we met. And there were 10 years of meetings subsequent to that one. But I don't know, it's hard to believe that she's gone. I was telling a friend of hers, I picked up the phone yesterday and started to dial her number. We talked every day for 22 years. So it's a huge loss, and I'm sure it is for a lot of you. And people join community boards for all sorts of reasons, I think. And, Barbara, having done this for 41 years, I think is just remarkable. And so many people at the Memorial Sunday, just said, God, she just she never wanted any attention or any accolades or any credit or praise. She was just a really earnest, idealistic person. And I think it will leave a hole, I think, in this board, an emptiness. And I hope that some of the new and younger members will carry on her legacy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russell.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, we will resume the elected official reports. So let's go next to Audrey Tannen from State Senator Resolutions.
Hi, everyone. Actually, in following up and to reassure Amy, we all do miss Barbara, but I think Liz wanted to say to everyone on Community Board 8 that Barbara would be very proud, and the Community Board is in good hands because we did also stream that hearing this afternoon, and everyone was so impressed with all that you brought up and how you advocated and represented the community. So we hope that the City Council heard and will follow suit, and know that Liz, along with Councilmember Kylos, Powers, Assemblymember Seawright, and Gail Brewer will definitely be continuing the conversation and letting everyone know that she continues to oppose the blood center. I also wanted to reach out about your first presenter in the public session. We are having next Thursday a conversation with the Human Rights Commission about bystander training. So that will be next Thursday, 7 o'clock. It's a virtual session because we do know that there are a lot more incidents all over the city of hate, and whether it be spoken or physical. And we will be having the bystander training next Thursday virtually. We'll be sending all the information and details to Will. So thank you. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right, next let's go to Violet here.
Hi, everyone.
Hold on, wait, she's muted again.
Let's try that again, Violet.
Okay, I think we're good.
Give her 8 seconds.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm
You know
resetting.
what? You can keep it, but okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I definitely want to share my deepest condolences about Barbara. Very unfortunate that I never had the chance to meet her in person, but my predecessor, Jenna Klaus, definitely told me quite a few stories about her, just her perseverance and her participation in the community. I truly believe people like that who make New York City the city that it is. So I'm so sorry. The blood center hearing today did happen. Yes, Councilmember Powers obviously asked a few questions and stands with Councilmember Kalos, but we are more than happy to have folks continue to share their perspective and their opinion with our office. If you want to email me your position on it, you know, I still share all of those with him. So it's helpful in just reminding him that people are very passionate about this. And I know no one here will let him forget it, but I still like to remind him that people are continuing to reach out. So don't hesitate to give our office a call or send me an email if you want to share your position on it. 2 quick points I'll make. Councilmember Powers, Borough President Adams, and Councilmember Levine proposed a resolution on August 26th to repeal cabaret law zoning regulations that serve as a barrier for restaurants and bars operating in New York, which calls for an end to the city's zoning laws over dancing and entertainment. So establishments would be regulated based on the capacity of the venue rather than the zoning. If you are interested in hearing any more details on that, please reach out to me about it. Second is a quick composting update. The cuts in the curbside composting budget during the pandemic were disappointing, but necessary. The program's absence showcased the need we have as a city to invest in our community composting through food scrap drop-off sites. So as you may know, Councilmember Powers was a co-prime introductory sponsor of the Community Organics and Recycling Empowerment Act, along with Councilmember Reynoso, Chair of Sanitation. So recently, Councilmember Powers, along with our constituents, were dismayed to learn that despite our best promotional efforts and many of our residents signing up, the program is being phased in, and there's no timeline currently for when Community Board 8 will be included in curbside composting. So Councilmember Powers drafted and sent a letter to the mayor and the DSNY commissioner, imploring them to return curbside composting collections to our district. If you want to sign up, if you have any questions, I can connect you with our curbside composting liaison from DSNY. Her name is Allie. She's great, and we're really eager to get as many folks signed up as possible. So don't hesitate to reach out to me about that. Thank you, Russell.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Amanda Wallen.
Hi, everyone. It's been a minute since I've been here at the board, but it's good to be back. We echo everyone's condolences on the loss of Barbara Chalky. She was a real pillar of community spirit, and her loss will be felt on the board and in the community. So we wish all of you our condolences. For anyone who hasn't heard, we had to cancel our annual senior health fair due to COVID concerns, but we're working with our regular attendees to connect them to flu shots and to other healthcare services. So if you or anyone you know needs any help with anything in that arena, please feel free to reach out to us if you haven't already heard from us. And we are continuing to work with constituents on unemployment insurance, ERAP, excluded workers fund applications. And if you or anyone you know have any problems with any of those programs, whether personally or anything you're hearing about, please feel free to reach out to us. We are dealing with the governor's office and with all of the agencies on each of these programs on a very regular basis. So we are happy to do whatever we can to help everyone get the money that they need to keep getting through this pandemic. And that's everything I got. I didn't even need the 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think that does it for the elected officials reports. So we will move now to the chair's report. So I will try to be brief here. So as others have mentioned, today was the hearing on the blood center and the city council at the zoning and franchise subcommittee. So our local elected officials were there testifying. Many board members and community members testified, and I testified. I just want to say thank you to everybody who took the time today to be there, the elected officials, and Ben Kalos, who's leading the fight in the council on this issue, and our board members and community members. It's very, very important that the council members hear from us and have heard from us. And so for everybody who stuck it out through a long hearing, to make sure that you had a chance to testify and provide the excellent testimony that you provided, I want to say thank you. And of course, there's still more to come on this. So, we're going to continue to fight up until the very end here. The next thing is I want to update folks. I think I had mentioned a prior meeting that I would use the chair reports to provide updates on the community advisory group that has been meeting around the safe haven. So that group's been meeting regularly every month. And the latest update, a number of the recent discussions have focused on security that would be at the facility, basically provided for the surrounding area. And so there's been considerable discussion on that that's been focused on what the local needs are in that regard, and sort of what times security is needed, and that kind of thing. And so ultimately, so the current state there is we're going to see if it's possible to get 24-hour security available there. It may not be. That's going to be a funding question that's still sort of up to the city and Goddard, and we don't know the answer to that yet. But we will have at least, there will be at least 18 hours of sort of wandering security in that vicinity, which is in addition to the security that they'll have at the facility. And so I think we've worked out, what those 18 hours should be based on, who is doing what in the area and when things are open and things like that. So I think that's good progress there in addressing what I know is one of the big concerns that some in the community have regarding this. So that's my update on that. And with that, I think I will turn it over to Will for the district manager's report.
Thank you. I'll be very brief. I just want to introduce two of our new staff members who started after our full board last month. So I'll let Mohima and Zachary just unmute really quickly to say hello. Many of you have started working with them. They're going to be at many of your committee meetings going forward, so you get used to them and welcome them with me. Zachary and Mohima, you can say hi.
Hey everyone, nice to meet everyone. I'm Mohima.
Hi everyone, my name is Zachary and I look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Great. And in response to a lot of complaints that we've received about rat sightings in the neighborhood, we've partnered up with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to bring a rat academy to our district on Tuesday, November 16th at 4 p.m. Our Environment and Sanitation Committee was very proactive in trying to set this up. And so we encourage everybody to go to our website, find that, and invite your neighbors to participate. And with that, I think that's enough of my time.
Okay. All right, let's go to the committee reports. So I will turn it over to Carolina for the nominating committee.
Hi, everyone. So good evening, board members. Ahead of the nominating committee's report tonight, I wanted to recite a section from CB8's bylaws regarding the nominating committee in order to have full understanding and some transparency as to how the committee conducted the proceedings. I want to credit Craig, who kindly shared the passage, and it's as follows. Basically, the only requirement that is noted in our bylaws when it comes to the nominating committee is that we shall make the report to the community board at a regular October meeting, which is tonight. And with this report, we may suggest one or more members for each position. With that said, the committee spent over 6 hours interviewing candidates and discussing responses. We took this responsibility, as in prior cycles, really seriously and spent a great deal of time, obviously emailing, post this. However, as we all know, this board is very lively and everyone has very strong opinions. And therefore, at the end of the day, as you know, the final decision is up to each voting member of the full board. To that end, and without further ado, I'll begin the report noting that this year we had three members who expressed interest in taking office as secretaries. These individuals are running unopposed. And to streamline the process this year, we asked that they share a short bio, basically a small write-up, in order for us to get to know them a little bit and vet them this way. Ask any follow-up questions as needed. Those candidates are Rebecca Dungor, Sandra Coleman, Rami Segal. If you have any questions for them, of course, you'll be able to ask those post that. I'll go backward. So we'll go for second chair. This year we had member Valerie Mason and Billy Freeland. They expressed interest in that position. And the nominating committee again leaves the final decision to the full board. However, we suggest Billy Freeland as second chair. For first chair, we had Peter Patch and Tricia Shimamura who expressed interest. The nominating committee, I will reiterate, leaves the final decision to each voting member of the full board. However, we do suggest Tricia Shimamura for first chair. And finally, we have board chair Russell Squire and Ed Hartzog, who expressed interest in this position. And at this time, the committee does not suggest either candidate for the role. Thank you very much.
Okay, I see we have some hands. Carolina, do you want to take the hands here, or?
Sure. Barry?
Barry, go ahead and unmute.
I nominate Russell Squire for chair.
I'm not sure. Let's clarify something. So I think ordinarily the way, and maybe we should just sort of talk about what where we are in the process. So we've had the report from the nominating committee at the November meeting. That's when there will be a vote on the positions. So as I understand it, anybody who's been recommended by the nominating committee is automatically a nominee and in the running for any position. And at this meeting now, we can also take nominations from the floor for any of the positions. So for anybody who did not, who was not recommended by the nominating committee. So I believe in Carolina, maybe Carolina, you want to clarify, I guess, in terms of what the nominating committee did, who's currently nominated essentially for each position.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last portion that you noted, Russell?
I'm just going to say, can you just clarify for everybody who's currently nominated for each position?
Sure.
For November, and then if anybody has additional nominations they want to make from the floor, then we'll be able to.
Absolutely. So to clarify, I think that point just a little bit further, whoever was showed interest in moving forward as whatever position it may be, I mean, they're able to run. Again, going back to what CBA's bylaws say, and it's the only thing that the bylaws say regarding nominating committee, is that the nominating committee can make a suggestion, which is what we are doing. Obviously, we don't want to take a staunch position in saying this is the person. We are allowed to make a suggestion. And the reason behind that is that we took, again, a very long time interviewing candidates and discussing their responses. Therefore, in the best interest of the board, we obviously have more information than the rest of the members. My understanding is that we're also able to ask questions of said nominees that come from the full board, should you have any additional, questions for them. So I'll reiterate, we have 3 members running for secretary, but they're running unopposed because we have 3 open positions. For second chair, we have Valerie Mason and Billy Freeland, and the board suggested Billy. For first chair, we have Peter Patch and Tricia Shimamura, and the nominating committee suggests Tricia. And then for chair, we have Russell Squire and Ed Hartog. And at this time, the committee was not going to take a position or suggestion on either candidate.
Okay. I think Chuck wants to talk about the process. Can we go to him first before we go to the
Sure. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Chuck.
Hi. So I think it's a little confusing the way the committee has done it because normally what happens is that if you're not recommended by the committee, then you need to, in order to run, you have to be nominated from the floor. And so I think the normal way the committee does it, the committee reports out someone, like in the case when you recommended somebody, you should say we report out that person. So that person doesn't have to be nominated from the floor, and anyone else who wants to run has to be. Now, for the chair position, you said you don't recommend anyone. So given that, that means that everyone would have to be nominated from the floor. If you want to, normally the way that would done, you report out both names, then they would both be there, and you wouldn't have to go through the extra step of that. But if that's the way the committee wants to do it, it's just not usually done that way. But if that's the way the committee wants to do it, then anyone who wants to run for chair, both of the candidates presumably would have to be nominated from the floor. So that's the difference. Normally, you would have said, the committee would have said, we're reporting out both names to the group. So then you wouldn't have to nominate. You wouldn't have to have the extra step to nominate people.
That's completely fine. So in 2016, I was actually part of the nominating committee as well. And I believe it was the year that Alita was running for chair and the board took the same position. We decided not to nominate anyone for chair. So everyone was actually nominated from the floor. So it's not unprecedented, and we have done it in previous cycles.
Okay, not usually done, but I
Okay,
won't.
so yeah.
So then when I guess we have to, I guess in terms of procedure, then for any positions that will have to be, for the chair positions, you'll have to nominate any candidates from the floor.
Let me point out while I'm still unmuted that my nomination on the floor stands for Russell Squire for chair. Thank you.
I'll second that while I still have the.
Nicely done, Chuck.
Okay, I accept.
Okay.
Let's go in the order that I have you on my screen. Rita?
Rita, go ahead and unmute.
The entire committee knows how I feel because I have sent them an email and I told them what I would do tonight, and I'm going to do it. We started the committee with, Alita had told us that Gail Brewer, the Manhattan Borough President, prefers that we do not present a slate and that the board gets to pick who these people would be, but we interview them and everything, and that was fine. However, I did not vote for any of these people. I was going to present the slate. I am not in sync with who they are reporting out. It was not unanimous. It is bias, and that is not what the nominating committee should be. I let them all know my opinions. I am so upset about the way this was handled, is that they were all qualified, and it is up to the board to vote on the people that they want. That's what we started at. And this calling out is an absolute bias way to do this. And I am against it. And I think everybody's name should go out, period. Thank you. I may calm down.
Next on the screen, I have Wilma.
Wilma, you can unmute. Wilma, it's *6. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Is my understanding that we're doing nominations to the floor now?
Yeah.
Yes, because so far we have one for Russell for president, right?
That's right.
I mean, not president,
For chair.
chair. Okay, and then so if I wanted to nominate somebody for something, I can at this point.
Yes.
Okay, and you said that the secretary's positions are open, or because they're not, there's nobody else to take those spots. Those people going stay, right?
We can accept nominations from the floor for additional secretaries, but we had 3 candidates who expressed interest, and there are 3 positions open. Therefore, we did not need to report.
So you're gonna have 6. You're gonna have 6 because our they supposed to only be for 3 years?
So.
Yes, and no one's running over that term.
Oh, they're not? Okay. It's just very confusing the way it's being done. So I understand it now.
Carolina,
So to summarize, I think where we are in terms of who's on the ballot, as it were, for November. For secretary, the 3
Yeah,
people.
I'm sending the candidates right now. Well,
Yes.
I emailed them to you.
Okay. Do you want me to read the names then, or do you want me to like put it up on the screen so people can see it?
We can put them on the screen or in the, yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense, or in the chat.
Yeah. I'm gonna put them up on the screen in a document, so like we did for last month. So just give me 2 seconds to do that.
Does anybody that has your hand raised have something to say, not a nomination, but to add additional points? Elaine, are you nominating someone or do you have some thoughts?
Yes, I was chair of nominating when you were your first time on the nominating committee. What you said was not true. We reported out Alita Camp. I would
there
now.
was a year that there was a year.
Excuse
we
me,
did
I'm
not.
not asking for a debate. I'm voicing my opinion.
Neither am I, ma'am. Neither am I. I'm just clarifying that there was a year within the time that I've been on the board where the board actually did not report out a chair.
Not when I was chair. Later on, maybe, but not during my tenure.
Okay, then the point
like
is moot.
Now, I would like to now nominate for chair Ed Hoskell, and for secretary Anthony Cohn. I understand from Anthony that he missed the deadline because he didn't see the email. Indeed, I had trouble with the email because it was in the middle of a few other things. So right now, I am nominating for secretary Anthony Cohn and for chair Ed Hoskell. And I would like us then to add that, and there'll probably be some other nominations, I'm sure. But I am surprised at, I guess, the reporting out. I guess I've never seen that in all my years, nor would Barbara Chaki have seen it. So I'd like us to move forward, but those are my comments for this evening. Thank you.
Anthony?
Anthony.
Yes, I accept the nomination. Wherever. Yes. A lot going on. I messed up. I missed the deadline. So here I am. And I would like to continue as secretary to Community Board 8. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara Rutter.
Barbara Rutter, you can unmute.
Unmute. Okay. I am very confused. Is Tricia nominated number 1? And number 2, in the list you showed did not have Russell's name. So his name should be added because he was just nominated. And so I'm sorry.
It's on there now. I'm putting the names of the person who nominates them next to who nominates from the floor. I hope that's clear enough for everyone.
So Tricia is nominated, am I right?
For first chair, which is what she expressed interest in being, yes.
And second chair, you said 2 things. When you said only Billy, then you said Billy and Valerie. And
no, they were the ones that they were the ones that expressed interest in being second chair, and the nominating committee reported out Billy.
Billy, not Valerie. Okay, great, thank you. Now,
and it's on the screen. I think it's updated. Will, I think we need to add Ed Hartog to chair, and he was nominated by Elaine.
Thank you. And Ed, did you accept? Can you just give a thumbs up or something if you accept? I assume, but I just want to. Yep, thank you.
Also, are we again, just for my own edification, is one person allowed to nominate multiple people?
That's a Chuck Warren or Valerie Mason question. Chuck, Valerie, either one of you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I want to weigh in that I don't think this is being done correctly, quite frankly. I mean, this is unbelievable to me. I didn't think we could get any worse than the last performance when we did this last year, but this has really taken the cake.
Carolina, you said you reported both of us out. You either suggested is not the proper term.
Well, suggested is the language that's found on CB8's bylaws. And that is the only language found in the bylaws. If someone finds different language, I'd love to see it.
Well, I think it's horrible what you just did to me and Billy, quite frankly.
I'm sorry. So first of all, I'm the chair of the nominating committee, meaning that there's 6 other people. And I don't understand how this is something that's horrible. Legitimately, when it comes down to it, I have a reporting sheet, AKA a receipt, where we have the rest of the people who were on the board. When it came down to it, when we needed to come up with a suggestion, which is in the bylaws, we took a vote, we went one by one, and each person noted who their preference was or who their suggestion would be. At the end of that, there's 7 people, so there's definitely not going to be a tie. And the person who had the most votes, aka the majority, may not be unanimous, but it was a majority, was Billy. So I don't understand. Well, and this is just like a runoff with like any other.
Then I'll say this to the entire committee. It is completely embarrassing. If you're going to report out one name, then that's the name that you should say. You shouldn't say that there were 7 people or 2 people that interviewed and one person's, and that's the whole point of the nominating committee. Nobody knows whose name is in there. Only the nominating committee knows.
Okay, so I mean, that's totally fine, but I think there's blame being placed here on where there's no clear guidelines as to what the nominating committee is supposed to do.
And I didn't hear anybody reach out to me or Chuck to consult on what the proper procedure was.
So the proper procedure is exactly what we noted. What is in the bylaws is what we stood by. The only thing that is in the bylaws, according to the bylaws, is that we are to have the nominating committee report in October, and we are able to suggest a nominee from that interviews or the nominating committee we can put out. So I don't understand how this is being mismanaged or whatnot, when at the end of the day, we actually followed exactly how it is. And if you look at it from the perspective of having like a runoff, if there's 2 Democratic candidates, at the end of the day, one is chosen to run against the other side. I'm just not sure. And what I repeated consistently throughout the entire thing is that this is the suggestion that came from a nominating committee, because there would be no point for a nominating committee if we just said everyone's qualified and everyone's great. What would be the purpose? There would be no purpose. There's just no reason to have a nominating committee then.
Well, I don't want to debate with you the merits of the nominating committee, but you just names as suggestions. I'll just say again, as a point of order, there's no need to say who interviewed or came before you for the candidacy.
I'm sorry, I don't think I follow that.
Because you just kind of, I mean, first you made it sound like my name was on the floor. I personally, if you've just created just a terrible situation now between 2 people who really like each other, and that's me and Billy. And that was completely unnecessary. So as I'm saying, I'm taking a point of personal privilege here.
I actually don't think that's correct.
You don't think that you've created a situation between me and Billy?
You're both running for a position, and just
First
like
of all,
many
no one
people
has
run for
nominated
positions,
me. No one has nominated me for anything.
I mean, there's still people looking to nominate from the floor, but I just find it a little bit incredulous here that you are dismissing what the nominating committee said.
No, I'm not.
When there was clearly a majority.
I think I'm not alone in trying to figure out what the nominating committee is saying, because there were at least 3 people. My phone is blowing up here. Okay. So I don't think it's really clear. So
Well, just like that, Valerie, we could also say that we were incredibly kind in allowing you to interview because you said that you had not seen our email and that you
Well,
were
I guess I
traveling.
wasn't the only
Why not?
one since Anthony missed it too.
Well,
I
there was
think
a week
let's-
late, and we took
okay.
a vote and we allowed people who
We
you
need
had a
to-
valid excuse. Anthony said he had just hadn't seen it. You
Carolyn,
said you were
so
traveling.
if I can just make a suggestion here, I think it was a little bit unclear who was on the ballot. I think we've now clarified it. So it's listed there. The people who are now on the ballot formally for each position are listed. And I would say, you know, at this point, the nominating committee has done what it's done. And so I think, you know, we should move to just sort of, if there are additional nominations from the floor, I think let's take those and move the process. And I think absent something like a point of personal privilege or something that you know, that is a sort of privilege motion or privilege point, I think commentary on the nominating committee or the process or what have you, I would say let's just move past it because it's moot in any event. So let's just
I have Alita next on the list.
yeah, so let's just do nominations. So if folks have comments, yeah, I would just suggest that they put their hands down and just stick to nominations.
Alita?
I don't have a nomination, although there is someone I would like to nominate, but I don't think it's appropriate. What I wanted to do, Russell, and please forgive me for 10 seconds, is just to clarify, because I did have a conversation with someone from the borough president's office who was opposed to the way the nominating committee has worked in the past, which was to nominate individual people and have those be the presumptive winner of the officer positions, because then the nominating committee group of 7 is making a decision for the entire board. When I was running for the first time, I had talked to Jim about being nominated from the floor. My name was not put before the nominating committee. And what he said was when people are nominated by the committee, nominations from the floor don't go well. So there's always been this kind of lack of clarity, I suppose, about it. And not a lot of boards do it this way, from my understanding with nominating committees. My understanding is that everyone is qualified and everyone who came before the nominating committee and wants to run should run. They're all qualified. They would all do a very competent job. It's just some people on the nominating committee, or sometimes maybe everyone, I don't remember, maybe preferred one of the candidates, but that doesn't mean that the other person was not we should not be running. And I don't think that's what happened in the past, because I remember that just one name was coming out of the nominating committee. So I don't know if that helps anyone. It feels like a big mess right now, because I think there was some confusion even among members of the nominating committee, but everyone who came before the nominating committee was judged to be competent. And I'm not sure that that was true in all past years. And I haven't really been on the board that long to have an institutional memory of this. So thank you for your indulgence and time, Russell. And everyone who came before the nominating committee, we spoke to them and we asked them all pretty much.
We have to.
So
I'm
that's
sorry, yeah. We just.
I'm done.
And what I'm gonna just reiterate here is, you know, and it may be that this, you know, prompts further discussion about the nominating committee process and how it should be done in the future and how it's been done in the past. The fact of the matter is we're now in a situation, we're in the middle of essentially a process that needs to, you know, really the goal of the process is to have a set of nominees going into the November meeting. So that's basically what we need. And I think let's focus there. And again, I don't think anything that's said here tonight in the course of this discussion is going to change, you know, ultimately, you know, who was nominated by the committee and all that. So I would say, to the extent that folks have comments on any of that stuff, it's going to have to be saved for a later time. And we should just move this forward by just focusing on nominations.
Next up, Anthony still has his hand up, so does Barbara. Gail?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Valerie Mason for second vice chair.
Valerie, unmute. And
Okay, I accept. Thank you, Gail.
You're welcome. And Russell, can I just quickly add one other thing? Just as a point of information, I think it is sometimes very difficult when you have 7 people, different views. Sometimes people are totally objective. Last year, we had some lack of objectivity a few times, which was unfortunate. As an example, in Community Board 6, they do report out everyone who is interested in running, in the sense that they look at the resume, they see what the qualifications are, and then the names go in front of the entire board to make the decision, because they've said they don't want a handful of people to almost taint the process by saying X person is better than Y person. So
Yeah,
I
Gail,
think your
I feel-
idea of putting this in front of the Rules Committee to revisit how we nominate people
I think
would be a
that's
great
what
idea.
will have to
Thank
happen.
you.
Yes, so I would just once again reiterate, I think this will go to the Rules Committee. I think there will be plenty of time to discuss what's been done in the past, how it should be done in the future, whether or not it's different. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. That's just not what we're talking about right now. We just really have to let's get nominations. I'm going to say that's, and you know, unless Carolina disagrees, because it's the nominating committee report, but I'm going to say no more, you know, commentary. I mean, I'm going to be strict now. So let's
We
just
have
focus on
pause.
nominations in seconds.
Sorry, Russell, cause.
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments that I was going to make, but I won't.
Can we just, yeah, I'm sorry.
Point of information. I thought the statement was that the nominating committee will report out 1 or more. And in my, I know I'm not a mathematician, but 0 is not 1, is it?
It's permissive. So they may suggest 1 or more. They don't have to. So
They don't have to. Yeah.
Okay. And also,
so no, I would say no comments. So if you have a nomination, go ahead. Otherwise, let's.
No nomination. Just a point of clarification that was stated earlier on, which was not true. Way back, a leader was not.
Sorry, Cosmo.
Okay, fine. Let's move on.
Whatever the history is, or whatever. I mean, that's going to be covered at a later time. We just don't. That's not for that.
Rami.
I find this very improper, but I have a nomination, and this is not a public endorsement of any candidate. I'm just doing this because I feel that the nominating committee conducted themselves improperly, and that this is completely against the spirit of the community board. I'd like to nominate Peter Patch for first vice chair.
Peter, do you accept? Peter, I see your thumbs up. I'm taking that as an accepting.
Yep, thank you.
Craig.
Craig, go ahead and unmute.
Hi, everyone. As someone who is on the committee, I just need to make a few comments. First off, absolutely, we need to review the bylaws and make some changes. I think it's really unfortunate that this has devolved into this type of discussion. I think as a committee, we went to great lengths to make sure that we treated everyone with deference and fairly and respectfully and equally. We made sure we asked the same questions, or essentially the same questions of each candidate. We were careful to not personalize anything, to not ask gotcha questions or anything of that nature. And we really deliberated this. What I think was really problematic was the fact that we didn't really have any guidance. We had one, and I don't even think it was a parliamentarian issue. And even so, we had one parliamentarian who was a potentially someone who was going to be reported out. It wouldn't be appropriate, obviously, to bring them into the discussion. But the bylaws are what we have to rely on. We can't rely on past precedents when there is no firm grounding for that precedence. We didn't really have much of a choice but to really stick to what the bylaws said we needed to do. And we did that to the best of our ability. So I'm really just begging everyone to just please stop attacking the nominating committee. Clearly, I think we've learned from this year and from last year, and probably from past years also, that we need a really well spelled out process that everyone in future years can be able to point to and know exactly how to conduct business and then report out in a way where we're going to not have to face these issues. So with that, it was an honor to serve on the committee, and I learned a lot from the process, and I hope that we can move on from this and just take it from here. We're where we are now, and let's just try to do better from here. Thank you.
Rebecca Jangor.
Hi, thank you everyone on the nominating committee for your time. Just reiterating and confirming the fact that the Rules and Bylaws Committee co-chairs have all discussed this previously, and we will be holding a meeting to reassess this as well as other potential amendments to the bylaws. We welcome all of your comments during that time. Thank you.
Elizabeth Rose.
Thank you. I have two, I guess, points of information. My first question is, can a candidate be nominated for more than one office? That's a question.
And the second one?
And the second one is, can a member nominate more than one candidate?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Can a member nominate more than one candidate?
Yeah, so we were waiting for a response on that.
Well, I can respond as to our precedents on this.
Sure.
You can't be nominated for more than one office, and one person can only nominate, make one nomination.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the answer to the first question about running for more than one office. Just the sound cut out.
I'm sorry, maybe I sound. You can't run for more than one office. No.
Okay. Thank you. I have no additions.
But I'll just reiterate what Rebecca said. We're going to have a meeting and try to clarify some of these things. It's obviously some of the, it's not as clear as it ought to be.
Thank you, Chair.
Billy?
First, I just want to thank the nominating committee for the time you spent on this. I know it's not easy. When I decided to run for second vice chair, I wasn't sure whether Valerie was running. And as much as I'd like to serve in that role, Valerie's doing a fine job. So I don't know the process for doing this, but I'm going to step aside, and hopefully we will re-elect Valerie to the position. But thank you again to the nominating committee. It's very flattering.
Did we lose Carolina? Oh.
So the next hand.
Yeah, one second.
Sorry, it was muted. I think those are all the hands that I see up.
There's Elaine and Barry.
Well, Elaine already spoke.
Okay.
And I believe Barry did as well for nomination.
That's correct.
Abraham?
Okay, well then, given Billy's recanting or now seeking second vice chair, I would like to nominate myself for second vice chair.
From my understanding, just like when we did the nominating committee, are you not allowed to nominate yourself? There's no self-nominations. Chuck, can you confirm?
1 second. Chuck, go ahead and unmute again.
We've never had someone nominate themselves here, although maybe, I don't, as far as I can remember, but there's nothing specifically that, obviously in the bylaws that deals with that.
So when we were working on nominations for the nominating committee.
Nomination.
I was told that there is a set rule for that we cannot nominate during the nominating committee, but for when it comes to nominations from the floor, we are. So there's a difference there.
Normally nominated seconded usually too. So usually requires a second for the nomination.
Okay, I was told otherwise because I did not self-nominate myself. So that, okay. I see some of the same names.
Sorry, so am I reporting that? Am I putting that on here?
So I mean, just so that there's clarity and in case that there is something in there that one cannot self-nominate, I'd like to nominate Abraham.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, there's some things.
And just to add something that I think is, as Barbara said, to bring up, I'm sorry, Rebecca, when we were interviewing candidates and we asked them, and again, this was clear across the board, what they thought the role of first chair was and what they thought the role of second chair was, the response across the board was that it's also not defined. And therefore, people kind of make this role what they think it should be. So there's no defined terms there either. Just for everyone's edification regarding that particular aspect of the nominations. I don't see any other hands that have not previously spoken. Well, Russell as well.
Peter Patch.
Let me take
Yeah, thank you, Will. Yeah, I just want to make sure we're in a situation where it seems that have a nominating process where the rules are unknown. There's some rules committee that's going to decide after the fact what the rules should be. I'm not sure when or how those are going to apply. So I just want to be sure if it is determined that someone can only nominate one person, and Elaine has nominated both Anthony Cohn and Ed Hartzog, I'd like to submit a nomination for either Ed or Anthony so that both of them is nominated by one person. Is that clear?
yes.
Thank you. So they both should be formally nominated, whatever, decisions made after the fact about what can or cannot happen. And it would be helpful if we knew the rules before we played the game. But that's just a thought going forward.
Well, I don't see any hands that are new to the slate right here. I think everyone that has their hand still up has already spoken. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Please raise your hand now. Okay, seeing none. Russell, I think we can turn it back to you for next steps.
Okay, thank you. Well, so in terms of the officer selection, the next step will be vote on the different positions at the November meeting. And so with that, let's go to our next committee report. So thank you, Carol. Next, we will turn it over to the Landmarks Committee. So David Halpern and Jane Marshall. And I'll just say that, that the nominating committee discussion is over. We're past it at this point. So please don't raise your hand in other committee reports to make comments about the nominating committee or that process, because we're moving on.
Thank you, Russell. It's pretty hard for me to stay silent after that previous discussion, but I respect your wishes. Thank you. We had 2 applications, which we heard at our Monday meeting of the Landmarks Committee, 1133 5th and 7 East 81st Street. I don't know, is David here? David Halpern?
I'm here.
Oh, hi, David. In any case, they were both unanimous. Did you want to add something, David? We already heard from Lowe, who spoke in the public session on 1133 5th.
Well, all I would add is that when Lowe sent an email, he sent it in support of both. And I think since they were both unanimous, we don't need to spend a lot of time on them.
So is there a move to take together and approve?
You have a hand up from Ed Hartzog and then Michelle Birnbaum.
Yeah, Jane, you took the words out of my mouth. I move to take them both right now, since they're both unanimous.
Okay, so all in favor of calling the question? It's hard on Zoom. All against? I think we can go to a vote. Russell, I don't know how you want to do the vote.
That's right. Yeah, let's have the secretaries do it.
Okay. I'll do the first. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca, if you'd rather. It's fine.
No, you take it. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Anyone voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hands. I think that's the usual. That's what we've been doing. Okay, I have a.
Wilma? *6 to unmute. Sorry, that phone number is Wilma.
Okay.
Wilma, you have your hand up. So *6 to unmute.
I was cut off. I just got back on, and now you're voting for something that I don't know what you're voting for. So I was doing a point of information to find out what are you voting on.
These are the two landmarks resolutions which were unanimously approved at the committee level on Monday night.
Thank you.
And you are voting.
Wilma, or you're voting yes?
I'm passing. I'm unmuted. I'm passing. You have to come back to me, please.
Okay. Is there anyone else? I don't see any other hands. Unfortunately, Wilma, we're back to you.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay, I'll do that. Obviously, the motions will pass. And I think that's it for you guys, for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, they
Thank you, John.
passed by a vote of 42 to 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, let's move now to the Streetlight Committee. Abraham.
Okay, hi everyone. Apologies I can't be on video right now, but we have 2 unanimous resolutions from Street Life and then 2 non-unanimous. Do I see any hands to take the 2 unanimous together before we get to Ed?
Yes, you read my mind, Abraham. Let's take them now, unanimous together. Recommend that.
Okay, and I see thumbs up and seconds. Great. So all in favor, just take them together. If there's anyone opposed, raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll go to the vote. And secretaries, take it away on the 2 unanimous.
All right, this is for the 2 unanimous Street Life items. If you would like to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Seeing none, both items pass with a vote of 43 to 0 to 0.
Great. So the first item that was non-unanimous is item 1A, which is for the Woolman Rink partners. That's an application for liquor, wine, beer, and cider. That was an 8 to 1 vote. Let's see, is Marco here? Would you like to speak to the opposition? If not, I'll take any other hands. Marco.
Thank you, Abraham. I am opposing this application because knowing that Central Park is one of the most important landmark public spaces, whose successful designs were and are to have nature without leaving the city of concrete and steel. My concern is the lack of.
We lost you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. My concern is the lack of input from the Landmarks and Preservation Commission and our Landmark Committee on the $7 million construction capital improvement investment for new ticketing kiosk, pavilion upgrades, increased additional seating, and the elevator enclosure walls, which are proposed to be painted to become very predominant within the park, to which this application called, quote, a beacon inside the park, open for business, end of quote. In short, this proposed serious changes in the concept of the park's designs and showed some renderings that raise even more questions than answer without any input. In addition, they plan to start operating on November 15, 2021. They said that they do not have a certificate of operation for the 1,500 to 2,000 people on this facility, which is a serious law violations of the building code. And that is why I'm opposing this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Lynn Strong-Shinozaki.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'd just like to comment very quickly that I follow everyone in their despair with Barbara Chalky's recent passing. I felt mentored by her and supported by her, and I think it's a tremendous loss. Having said that, my family, 3 children, have spent their lives growing up skating in that rink and enjoying and participating there. It was a huge thing every fall for us to plan our trips to Woolman Rink. And I shudder at the idea that other families can enjoy that wonderful the park is an incredible environment. Having the opportunity to skate there is a world-class thing. And I think we should do everything to support it in its continuation. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for a little more context, the liquor license is not for day-to-day operation. It's only they're only going to use it for special events, and any of the funds earned from the from the operation generally, including from selling of alcohol, will be reinvested into the upkeep of the venue. Okay, do I have anyone that would like to? Alita.
Thank you. Hi, Abraham. What you just said about the Woolman Rink people, do you have that in writing? Is it something that's binding on them? Because we've seen what happened with that place on Park Avenue, the Rose Group, and how they kept trying to stretch the terms of their agreement with the board. So I'm just wondering if there's something to record their representations.
What I can do, and thank you for that, that's a very wonderful observation. And I think what we can do without modifying what came from the committee is we can update and detail further in the resolution that they made those stipulations, basically, that they were only going to do it for special events, not for just day-to-day consumption.
Thanks. How does that work with the SLA though? Does that become binding if the SLA gives them a license, or what is the future of our recommendation in that way? I don't know.
Well, if it were a stipulation, theoretically it's binding, but again, the SLA is going to take us as advisory, in their overall decision making.
Right, I know it's within our limited scope. Thank you.
Right. Okay, Michelle.
So I value Marco's opinion, but I don't really have enough information about this applicant. And I wonder if the chair can give us a more thorough presentation of what they are proposing there and what the concerns are. And what, if anything, is missing in terms of what's outlined in their application that can cause concern later going forward?
Okay, well, Michelle, I think so. As Marco outlined his concerns related to kind of the landmarking, the construction, which again are not within the scope of what this application that we were reviewing. We were asked to review whether or not we believe that they should be allowed to have a liquor license in that space. But as part of the presentation, they did indicate to us that they would be, as Marco said, installing an elevator for ADA accessibility. They would be building a pavilion off to the right side that will be used for additional seating and also to host some of the events that they will be having, whether it's parties or corporate events.
Are these parties or corporate events going to interfere with the public use? Are there defined public hours where they would have to have these events outside of the hours that are designated for the public? Is there any such restriction?
So the way they had envisioned it and presented it was that the part of the reason they were having that new pavilion off to the side was that so they can hold these ancillary events there while still having the main skating rink there and accessible. So I don't know how they would split it or the hours, but it would not be, it's also not extended hours. They're limited to the park hours. But that was the presentation, that was in their presentation.
Well, I would just say that I'm not opposed to this because I don't know enough about it, but I also can support it because I don't know enough about it. And I can see us running into a concern that the community very actively was involved with the tennis bubble, going over what was a public park and ball field and eventually taken over by the private concern that was originally using it for only a certain period of time and then seasonal, and then that season seems to have gotten expanded. So I'm not really comfortable supporting signing contracts with no specificity and then counting on some goodwill negotiations going forward, not because I doubt the goodwill of all the parties involved, but because I fear that a profit motive will determine the outcome. That is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is when it comes to what is really a public landmark, public property, and the original designated use of that space for the public. I don't recall in the past we ever having such concerns. So I am not willing at this point in time, without any additional commentary and paperwork, to support this without having more information. And I am going to trust that if we turn down this liquor license tonight, that it does not necessarily mean the end of the project, but I would hope that it would make the applicant more willing to give us more information of what such a contract would entail, what their use, what their intent really is. Having a private corporate event under a tent or something next to a public facility where children are skating is not necessarily my idea of a secure environment in a place like this. So I'm not supportive of that in a blanket way. If you could show me by contract what the protections were and how this would work, I might be persuaded. But since we don't have that, I'm going to have to turn this down.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, next hands. And also as a reminder, to the extent there were any points that would require approval by landmark, they would have to come back on those issues. Again, we're focusing exclusive, or this committee focused solely on the liquor license aspect, nothing related to the improvements that are proposed in the presentation that they gave to us. So next I'll go to Rita.
Rita, unmute.
Call the question.
Second.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay,
Second.
Great. Okay, so all in favor. So if there's any opposed to calling the question, Okay, seeing none. In that case, can I go to the chairs to take away to the vote on this matter?
All right.
Yep, I will be recording this vote. If you are voting yes, don't do anything. If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand. Okay, I'll call on you one at a time. First hand is Alita.
Abstain.
Thank you. Next up is Michelle Birnbaum.
No, for all the reasons I.
Thank you, Michelle. Marco, you're up next.
Thank you. No.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Next is Lowell Barton.
No, please don't drink and skate.
Thanks, Lowell. Sherry, you're up next.
I vote no for all the reasons.
Thank you, Sherry. Peter Patch.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you, Peter. David Halpern, you're up next.
No.
Thank you. Elizabeth Ashby.
Abstain.
Thank you. Peggy Price.
No.
Thank you, Peggy. Jane Partial.
No.
Thank you, Jane. Elaine Walsh.
No.
Thanks, Elaine. Gail Barron.
Nope. Try it again. One more time. There you go.
No.
Thank you, Gail. Rit, you're up next. Wait, yeah, Rit.
No.
Thank you. And Valerie
I'm going
Mason.
to abstain, thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other hands? Seeing none, the resolution passes. We're counting up the yeses, but it's 10 noes and 4 abstentions.
Great, thanks, Billy. So moving to item 1B. So one clarification before we proceed. This was an 8-to-1 approval. Just note there's error in the minutes. So in the second or the fourth whereas, where it speaks to the stipulations that the applicant agreed to close windows and doors by 10, that they will have no sidewalk cafe. 2 additional ones that I've updated in the minutes that will be official is that they did agree to reduce their hours on Thursday nights from 4 a.m. to 2 a.m. and that they also stipulated that there would be no speakers outside, meaning no outside music, which is something that was a concern raised. So just this matter. So the one, Mrs. Brown was the one. No, do we have Mrs. Brown? And if so, would you like to speak to your opposition? Don't see
She's here, but she doesn't have her hand raised.
her. Okay, so in that case, Elizabeth Rose.
So I have a question about that third stipulation or the fourth stipulation. The applicant agreed to ensure closed doors and windows by 10 p.m. and no sidewalk cafe or outdoor seating available. Does this mean that they are giving up any rights under the outdoor dining program? And if so, was that requested by the committee or was that just completely volunteered by the applicant?
There was a question raised by the committee so this is a new application because in their existing location they are moving because it's being torn down, and there was a question in their existing location they do have outdoor space. The question was whether they would seek outdoor space in their new location, but the applicant indicated that given obstructions and the space limitations that they would have in their new location, that they would not be seeking to have outdoor seating or space. And we asked if they would stipulate to that, and they agreed.
And is that stipulation important to the committee and to their vote? And if so, why?
Keep me honest, Barry, was that, I don't recall who made the inquiry there, but Barry, you were present, so I'll let you speak.
Yes, Elizabeth, the area is such that there's an enclosed bus stop right in front of the restaurant. There's no physical room for an outdoor cafe. We raised the question there, and those are the facts.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. I don't want to see us restricting a business's taking advantage of rights that they would otherwise have in order to obtain our approval. So thank you for the response.
Thank you. Barbara.
I think the other issue, if I remember correctly, is that there was music and we didn't want, he wanted to limit the time. We didn't want music at 2 a.m. or anything. So that's why they said they would be indoors and everything would be closed. Am I right about it? Is my memory correct, Abraham?
You are correct. There was some voicing of concerns that they haven't always been the nicest neighbor in terms of their outdoor space, and that there might have, I've never seen it, but I think someone did mention that they've seen outdoor speakers. So that's why they stipulated to the outdoor speakers and confirmed that they wouldn't be seeking outdoor space, to which we had them confirm the stipulation. So yes, correct.
I don't remember anybody saying that they weren't good neighbors. It was just a question.
Never mind.
What?
Barry,
Barry's unmuted.
You're unmuted, Barry.
Oh, he's yelling at me for talking on.
Let's
I'll get back to you, Barry, later.
Thanks, Barbara. Russell.
Call the question.
Okay, great. I would like to second that. So all in favor of calling the question? Is anyone opposed to calling the question? I see one. Nope, seeing none. Okay, great. So then can we go to the roll on this topic? Thank you, secretaries.
Yes, I think I'm up. And all those voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause on the approval of this application, please raise your hands. This is encouraging. Okay, a couple more seconds. Seeing none, this passes unanimously, which would be sort of 45-0.
And that's all for street life. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next let's go to the Zoning and Development Committee report, Elizabeth and Anthony.
Elizabeth, you can unmute. Anthony, you're already unmuted.
Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hello.
We
have just one resolution which regards not getting what was promised to us, which was being informed of the after-hours permits. And the office and we get an awful lot of complaints about all not working, and it seems from what we've heard that although this is not an automatic permit, that the grounds for getting the permit, it seems to be asking for it. So we passed a resolution asking the Department of Buildings again to inform us of the applications, and it was a unanimous decision.
And just to follow up on what Elizabeth said, this has been a problem for residents for a long time. The Department of Buildings is in fact not supposed to grant after hours and weekend permits on a regular as a regular on a regular basis as a matter of course, but they're supposed to be a kind of almost either an emergency or when in fact the construction activities are of a particularly dangerous nature to the community. And it seems as though the Department of Buildings is granting them more or less willy-nilly to anyone who asks for them. And this is a request that we actually be informed so that we can, at the very least, protest them, if not, in fact, stop them. Anyway, that was just a clarification.
Michelle?
Thank you. Yeah, this is a very, very important resolution, but I even want to add some teeth to it. Not only is it important that we are advised when construction is starting either before normal hours or staying late, but in addition, and I wonder if we can put a whereas in there, but I won't hold things up if we can't, or therefore be it resolved in there, that when construction hours are assigned, whether they be outside the normal hours or within those hours, that it doesn't mean that trucks and workmen can arrive an hour before and then the work starts, say at 7. I speak about this only from sad experiences in that I hear it because I'm on 86th Street and I hear everything that's going on in the street. And it is very, very often that a construction crew, whether it be private construction or city fixing the streets or Con Ed or buildings or whatever, that their work permit says they can start at 7, but they arrive at 6. Well, them arriving at 6 is the same as them starting at 6 because the clang and the trucks and the backup beep, 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 and the workmen talking to each other and unloading metal construction tools that hit the ground or clang together, it is just as noisy. So if we can find a way, if it's acceptable to the chairs, the co-chairs and the committee, to add, therefore be it resolved that when construction is due to start at a given time, that in fact, the crew does not arrive and set up prior to that time. I hope you can include that. I think it's important. Thank you.
Let's give some thought to that because that's not a matter of informing us of a permit that was issued. It's enforcement of it's an enforcement issue of the regular building permit. That it doesn't apply to the after hours permits. So perhaps we can at our next meeting make a resolution on that subject. But if somebody can think of, I just don't think it falls under this category. I think it's a real problem, and I think it's something, I certainly support what you said, but I don't think it's a problem of not informing us of after hours permits. But I don't know. What do you think, Anthony?
No, I agree with you, Elizabeth. I think that it's beyond the scope of this particular resolution, which has to do with informing us rather than trying to reform the rules of the Department of Building. So I think maybe we should look at this at a future time. I think Elaine also has her hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to say that historically, this issue came up about the trucks coming 2 hours before the regulation started at 7 a.m. So if there's a way that if it can't be under this resolution, a letter be done reinforcing what we said years ago, that these employees, the staff that are building the workers cannot start, and the food trucks can't be there prior to I think it's the 7 a.m. because it is a major issue. And there is somewhere that we took a position on this and alerted the city. I don't know why we couldn't add it as an addendum that we need to know the hours, but also alert them that on the record, we do have a position that the trucks and employees cannot start their work and feed people prior to that 7 a.m. or whatever the AM number is. So I support what Michelle is saying. It's there. We've done it before because that is a major problem. So if you could look at that and add it in or send a letter in addition to, but it maybe the staff can look in the archives and find that position that was taken a number of years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. I think the preference now would be to vote on the resolution as is, and then we can separately send a letter or follow up with a resolution concerning the actual work hours at our next zoning and development meeting, if that makes sense to everyone.
Okay. Rebecca?
Call to question.
Anyone against calling the question? Okay.
Rebecca, I think you're up.
If you'd like to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the item passes unanimously with a vote of 45 to 0 to 0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I think that kind of covers, but I don't know that we could write a letter. Russell, what would be the position if we wanted to write a letter saying, please enforce the hours? Can we do that, or should that follow another meeting?
That's fine. I think that's a good idea. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I think letters are okay without a board resolution.
Sure, yeah. All right. I would say, Michelle, I think we passed the resolution on this issue, so we're going to move on to the next committee report. So next up is street fairs. So I'll turn it over to Wilma Johnson and Barbara Rutter. Barbara's new co-chair of the committee along with Wilma.
Wilma, it's star 6 to unmute.
Before Wilma gets on, I'm just going to say that
I'm on.
Okay, let me just say I'm pleased to be Wilma's co-chair, but I know I'm not filling Barbara's shoes. Barbara's knowledge was unbelievable and her commitment to everything good, and I'm glad to be helping Wilma, but I know I'm not filling her shoes. Okay, Wilma, do you want to present the two resolutions?
Yes. My condolences to Barbara, who sat next to me on all these street fair meetings, and I'm really going to meet him. It's a pleasure to have Barbara Rutter beside me now as co-chair. We have two items for the street fair. We have the YCS Fall Festival in October 31st on it's a Halloween event at which it calls East 88th Street, New York Avenue, and First Avenue. And then we have an annual Park Avenue tree lighting, the full closure of Park Avenue between East 91st, 92nd Street. And we have a unanimous approval for these two events. Any questions?
You have hands up from Michelle, Chuck, Trisha, and Rita. Michelle?
Yeah. Call the question on the two unanimous approvals. These are long-term fairs with, and very welcomed in the community. So I urge you to support this.
Like Marco seconds, others. Yeah.
So, which secretary is doing this one?
I think it's Billy.
I'm taking this one. I just want to make sure we do the whole, anyone object to taking them. Okay. So raise your hand if you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause. Okay, seeing no hands, this passes unanimously 44-0. And on the Woman Rink resolution from before, it was 31 yes, 10 no, and 4 abstentions.
Thank you.
All right. Next, let's go to the Budget Committee, and I will turn it over to Felice.
Thank you, Russell. So this was my first time co-chairing the committee with Barbara Chalky, and I was very sad of not having the opportunity not only to work with Barbara on this, but her untimely passing. It was just much too sudden and much too big a loss to the community and the community board. So we reviewed the district needs statement. There's 3 items for the district needs statement. The discussion of the district needs statement and the text that goes with it, and then ranking our capital budget priorities and the expense budget priorities. We agreed as part of the district needs statement that the top 3 priorities for the community were going to stay the same 3 top issues: affordable housing, schools, and parks. One of the significant changes we made in the discussion was really to make a concerted effort to prioritize NYCHA housing, in addition to the need for affordable housing. So the district needs statement was approved unanimously. The capital budget priorities, again, were approved unanimously. If you like, I can go through what the top 5 priorities were. It was, let me scroll down to the top 5 capital budget priorities: additional schools, repairs and upgrades to NYCHA housing, resiliency against future storms. I apologize for my dog. Air conditioning system for the 19th precinct, and Esplanade repairs. That was approved unanimously. Sorry. Then what's going on at this moment? I apologize. Then on the expense budget priorities, again, we prioritized school funding, NYCHA repairs, youth and workforce development, addressing pest control issues, composting, and the board voted on the expense budget with not unanimously. There was 1 abstention. Do we want to take each of these items separately or move to vote on them? I guess we need to take questions or comments first, so I apologize. So that's the presentation on the budget committee, the district needs statement.
You have Billy, and then Rebecca, then Barbara Rutter.
Okay, Billy?
I have a question about the 4th priority under the capital budget, which is renovating police precinct houses, and it says funding an air conditioning system for the 19th precinct. So do they not currently have air conditioning system, or is it broken? And do we know, I guess, maybe it doesn't matter how much that type of expense costs, but I just would love to know a little bit more about what's going on with that line item.
So that actually was a big priority for the 19th precinct. It's not just putting in air conditioning units, it's for the entire building. It's out of date. They support the community, and this was something that they really needed. So we wanted to prioritize that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did I hear you said it's not just the air conditioning system?
It's not like they're individual air conditioning units. It's basically the HVAC system for the building. And it was something that's really outdated and needed to be upgraded. And we thought it was important to prioritize it.
Got it. Thank you.
And
I saw, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Rebecca.
I saw Barry's hand up, and I know the Schneiders were the ones who brought this to the floor. So I was going to turn it over to Barry if he wanted to answer Billy's question, if that's why his hand was up. And then I'll speak up.
No, thank you. Felice did it all. She did a great job. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to say, I know how Barbara served as chair of this committee for a long time, and I think it was through this committee that I got to know her. So I just wanted to reiterate Felice's comments that I will always think of her whenever we take up these items.
And Barbara? I expressed this at the meeting. I'm uncomfortable. I'm not against air conditioning for the police. I'm uncomfortable that it's number 4. I feel the other issues really affect the entire community, the environment. You may say NYCHA is only one group, but it's a large portion. Schools, things like that. This is a specific building. Even when we asked for this for the library was for the community to come in. So I'm just uncomfortable with the fact that it's number 4. I'm trying to find it and I can't. I had another comment where one of our expense budgets was for internal Zooming or live streaming or whatever. And I felt the same way for the community board. And I felt the same way that this was not a broad enough community issue. So I will vote for it, but my issue, if anybody else agrees with me, is that should be pushed down, and the other issues are have so much more impact on the entire community. Well, I went back and I re-listened to the budget committee meetings, and this was the priority that was voted on at the budget committee. Of which you attended that meeting. Did, and I expressed myself then. I did, yeah, and I did express myself then. And I think I appreciate your points. I think the point was that supporting the police was really supporting the entire community. And then in terms of I think you're talking about the expense item on increasing funding for the community boards. I think that was really to, no, there was another one. There was 2 community boards. One was just for the community board. There was a later one under technology that was specific for the live streaming. And I'm trying to find it. Right. And I think we're moved that up to number 10 in the expense one, and in response to the concerns that folks raised about whether or not we were going to needed to continue Zoom or not continue Zoom. It's written, the request was that it be written fairly generically in the event that we needed to be able to continue to live stream the meetings where appropriate, and in case that the Manhattan Borough president was not continuing to fund the Zoom platform. So we had flexibility. I'm totally comfortable with that one. With the other one, if nobody agrees with me, I'm fine and I'll vote for it. It's just my preference. The others have so much impact. Barry, don't yell at me. Okay, and I think Barry, you're next, and then Michelle.
Barbara, I apologize for early on. I didn't realize I was unmuted. I was yelling at Judy. Never mind. In any event, the police get 15,000 calls a month from the community. They are a vital component of the community. We want to at least give them the same opportunity to refresh as we give anyone who goes into a public library. But they're there all the time, 24/7. I think to miscount the impact that the police have on us because we're talking about air conditioning, I think is a grave mistake. And I totally support this resolution. But the long story short, years ago, the reason the problem exists now is the central air conditioning is tied into the Hunter College building behind them. And it was never an effective linkage. And so now it's time for us to help correct it. Thank you.
And I think next is Michelle and then Alita.
Yes, I feel very strongly about this as well. We don't have a community without the police. We rely on them heavily. They're a major force in the community. The community needs them, and it's only right that in the year 2021 that they have the very basic creature comforts that we have come to expect in a place where that many public servants come to serve. So I wholeheartedly support them getting the air conditioning update that they need and that they deserve.
Okay, I think Alita is next, and then Chuck, and then Kaz.
Thank you, Felice. The police are an integral part of our community, and it's not just the police who use the police station. It's members of the community who go in there who may be victims of a crime or may just need to file a police report or may need information. So in that sense, the community is there as well as the police. And maybe, although Valerie, if I'm speaking for you, please, I apologize, but Valerie, maybe better than a lot of people, could talk about how quickly the police came to the rescue of a shopkeeper who was engaged in a grand larceny, as the police related and Valerie related at the Small Business Committee meeting last week. So I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but they're vital and it's important, and we need them despite all of the discussions about funding and defunding. They are essential. So I fully support this. Thank you, Felice.
Thanks, Alita. Next up is Chuck, and then Kaz.
What I'd like to add to the discussion is not about this item, but to quote Barbara Chalky, who would say, when we get into these discussions, the committee spent many hours going over these priorities and listing them. And if we start now trying to move them around, we'll never finish it, because the question is, what do you do? What do you substitute? You move this, you move that. So I would suggest that we stick with the committee recommendations, and if people care about these things, they will go to the budget committee.
Thank you, Chuck. Kaz, and then Elaine.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to support this, I assume, but I'm just curious. Last year, every restaurant, every business, every building spent thousands and thousands of dollars upgrading their HVAC for COVID prevention. I'm just surprised that the police department or the 19th didn't do it last year, when they could have and should have, having so many people in the building. So I assume the new HVAC upgrade will be COVID compliant to some extent. It's just a comment. I'm not asking to move up or down or sideways or anything, but just a comment.
Thank you, Kaz. Elaine, and then Rebecca.
I'd like to call the question, and I agree with what Chuck said.
Okay, so do we move to call the question? Or do we need that second?
Marco seconded, and some others.
Point of information, I just want to confirm this is for all three budget items, 1A through C.
Yes. Okay, so are you
Seeing
taking the
no-
vote? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's all right, Felice. Okay, all those voting no, and this is to all three of the portions of the Budget Committee resolutions. All those voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hands. Give you another couple of seconds. All right, seeing none, the motion passes unanimously. And that would be, I think, 44 to 1, to none. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next, hot off the presses from the meeting yesterday is the report from the Women and Families Committee. So I will turn it over to Gail and Peggy.
Thank you very much. Before Gail takes up our resolution, I just want to say something very quickly, which is, first, I want to express my sorrow over the loss of Barbara Chalky, who was a friend and a terrific contributor to so much of our community. I also wanted to give a big thank you to all those who attended last night's forum on remote versus in-person working. We had an excellent presentation by 4 great speakers and an interesting Q&A session after the presentation. So again, thank you very much to all of those who tuned in last night. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And, I too feel very saddened by Barbara's passing. She certainly will be missed. The second part of our program last night covered the growing threat to abortion rights. Fortunately, here in New York State, in 2019, there was the passage of the Reproductive Health Act, which codified Roe v. Wade in New York State. Currently, the Assembly woman, Rebecca Seawright, was fabulous. She led the discussion on abortion rights and challenges. And she asked that the community board support 3 bills, which she is co-sponsoring in the Assembly, as well as support, in addition, a bipartisan legislative pro-choice caucus, which is very firmly entrenched with only 104 members. They'd like a lot more, but they are moving to do whatever they can to protect abortion rights and all women's health issues. The resolution, which you have before you, was passed unanimously. We had 17 board and committee members present, so I too want to add my thanks to Peggy's for everyone who joined us. The first bill, which is pending, would amend the state finance law to establish an abortion access fund. This is for women who cannot afford to be able to pay to have the procedure. The next bill would require that health insurance policies have coverage of pregnancy termination procedures in every hospital and surgical or medical facility offering maternity care in the state. And the third bill would require comprehensive sexuality education for students in New York State's public schools in grades K through 12. And then, of course, asking that we support the state legislature's bipartisan pro-choice caucus advocating for women's reproductive health care and the right to choose. Are there any questions or comments? Rita? I see Rita Popper's hand. Can you unmute her,
Well,
please?
I would like to call the question, but I'd like to speak to it and say that these bills were absolutely on target. We really need them. I think that Rebecca C. Wright did an excellent job with her committee, and I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Anthony?
No, I just,
You had your hand up.
He seconded it. He was a thumbs up.
Yeah,
So he was
I was
seconding, so I think we
thumbs-upping,
can move
not-
to the vote.
Yeah.
Whichever secretary is up.
Okay, can we call for the vote,
All right.
please?
I think you are, Rebecca.
Yeah, let's lower all the hands. If you would like to vote no, abstain, or not vote for cause, please raise your hand. Barry. Oh, it's down. Michelle.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Seeing no others, the vote passes by a vote of 43 to 0 to 1.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, that is the end of the committee reports. So we're up
We
to.
have Borough President Gail Brewer, who.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Borough President, take it away, please.
Thank you very much. I'm in the car, so I'm sorry I have my mask on. Just a few things. First of all, I have no idea how, as you do, how the blood center, I know it was along till 5 p.m., but thank you, everybody. I have to say your council member has been a superhero on this issue, as you have. So we'll see what happens. Second, I want to thank everybody who came to Barbara Chalky's memorial. I know people respected her as I did, and just thank you. I also want to mention something that is happening that I hope is not going to be a real disruptor, which is these fulfillment centers. I'm sure they're popping up on the east side. They're all over Manhattan popping up. And we are trying to bring it to people's attention. What it is, and I don't know that zoning wise, they're actually legal, but retail store, except they have many of their paper. Sometimes they have their name like gorilla on the paper in the window. Somebody stands outside and basically you can order an apple, macaroni and cheese, cereal in 15 minutes. And of course, for those of you on board 8 who don't like bicycle and going too fast, I am aware of that. This would make your blood boil because I don't know how or why anybody needs to have anything in 15 minutes. It's not good for the worker. It's not good for our city. And it makes no sense to me, except as a disruptor for the bodegas and the grocery stores and all the people vendors whom I know you're not always fond of, but this is not something that we need. So they are popping up everywhere. And I just want you to be aware of them. They are basically warehouses. You can't go in. You are not allowed to go in. You cannot shop in them as an individual neighborhood resident. And it seems to me that's a warehouse and not retail. And zoning would not allow that under normal circumstances. So just so you know, we're aware of it. Second, I am concerned because during the pandemic, the wonderful organizations, I can get off somewhere else. I can get off somewhere else because you can't get through there. So I don't know where you're gonna go. I'm sorry. I can get off over here. I don't know. So you can go around the block. Just go around the block. So the issue is that there are many seniors who were part of a senior center. There are seniors who were part of a senior center who signed up for the Get Food. And there are obviously those who got fed, for instance, on the weekends. All of this to me is a little bit challenging as to who's going to continue to get food now, who's on the list of the senior center, who isn't, who should be, etc. It's not clear. And there are thousands of individuals in this situation. And just because the pandemic is over, it's not really. And in fact, as you may have read in the paper, there's another variant that is in UK and apparently in 6 or 8 United States. So we're not out of the woods at all. And so I'm stating that the seniors need to be addressed. So we're doing a 5-borough letter to the mayor stating what we know about the circumstances, and that we want to make sure the seniors are fed and that there isn't any disruption in service, because there is a cutoff as to when all of this is going to be taking place if we don't figure out who deserves and needs food now. I also want to just thank everyone who's been working on Roosevelt Island. There's the issue of the bank, lack of. I want to thank the New York State Department of Finance, because they really have been working with us to identify banks who would like to be there. I'm sure you heard that from elected officials. I tried to get Chase and I was shot down. Chase will not do it. So we have to find another. And I want to thank everybody who's been working on that. And I know there's another issue regarding traffic on Roosevelt Island. And now my understanding is the poll site for elections doesn't have any bathrooms. So everybody's working to try to address some of those issues. We're also, as a borough, trying to be more cognizant of the composting. There isn't a lot of sign up in terms of the folks who are signing up for curbside organic pickup, and we need to up the numbers in Manhattan. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. I want to also mention, not necessarily a community board 8 issue, but to the credit of Tish James, our Attorney General, she got the Sackler family, as you know, to come up with a lot of billions for the state because of their very horrible track record on the opioid manufacturing, which they made a lot of money on. And so what is happening is she has given to each mayor or county in New York City is $150 to $246 million to be spent on drug treatment. So I had a press conference mostly focusing on East Harlem and Harlem, because there's a big 125th Street challenge. And there's also a Midtown challenge, Roosevelt Park in Chinatown, and I'm sure there are other places. So we didn't get an answer from the mayor's office. The health department did call me, and they are working to try to address some of these issues, but it sounds like the money will be spent next year. But I think anybody who sees what's going on in our streets knows that we need help. And then just finally, you probably know, but every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and I know your chair, Russell Squire, thank you, and others have on a regular basis joined us for what's going on in terms of vaccines. I don't even want to talk about this new variant, but it seems that we're going to have to. And also just where is the federal money going as it comes into the city of New York? Because I worry that it's not transparent and we don't actually know. And then we're going to have the borough board, as we always do, tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning. And you're obviously all welcome to join us. This is going to be talking about the court system and some how racial and ethnic challenges are addressed, particularly in terms of inequities, and many other topics that the borough board and committee members, chairs bring up. Thank you very much, and congratulations to everybody. And again, thank you for all of your support of my friend Barbara Chalky.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for everything you've done on the blood center, not least your recommendation of disapproval on it. All right, so we are now at old and new business. I would say we should not have comments on any items that have already been discussed. Those, I would say, are not in order. And I would just say that if there's anything that's really going to require sort of substantive discussion ultimately at the committee level, let's just save it for there and have a committee discussion on it. But with that said, I will go to Alita Camp.
Thank you. This tangentially relates, but it's not the same. I would like to urge everyone, to all of the people running for office, to be civil and run a civil campaign, and for everyone who is talking to the people running for office to please treat them with civility and courtesy. You could get a lot more information from people campaigning with courtesy and positive questions than with negative thoughts. So that's my suggestion, and thank you, Russell.
Sure. Rita, go ahead.
I suggest that everybody running for office prepare to speak to the board for about 3 to 5 minutes about why they want to run and why they want to be in office. I think that would be only fair to all of the candidates.
Yeah, I think we'll work out the details of the next meeting. So, all right, Sherry, go ahead.
Just following up on what Rita said, I would propose that we allow the chairs to speak for 4 minutes each and that the other candidates speak for 2 minutes. That would be a total of 24 minutes. I think it's very worthwhile since we have each of our positions have contested chairs. So I would like to make that recommendation. I think the candidate should speak for 4 minutes and each of the other candidates 2 minutes. That would be my proposal.
Okay, I think we'll just do it consistent with what was done last time, which may have been 4 minutes and maybe what you're describing. But I think we'll just do the same again. Kaz, go ahead.
Yeah, move to adjourn so I can have a drink and de-stress.
Okay, there's a second for that. I believe that's a privileged motion. Chuck or Valerie can correct me if I'm wrong. So, okay, so with that, we'll vote on that. So if anybody wants to vote against the motion to adjourn, raise your hand, please, now. All right, no hands, so that is it. We will adjourn. Thank you very much, everybody.